call the Monday, August 18th, 2025 board meeting of the Yellow City School District to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start, do a roll call of board members. Start with Director Ricker,
Abby Richter,
Matt Semple,
Jeremy LeBlanc,
Sonia Peterson,
Laurel Christensen,
Amanda Lacy.
Ron Winter.
and looking for an approval of tonight's agenda. Is there any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve the agenda as ample.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? You're hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries. All right, a reading of the YME mission statement. I'll do that tonight. Our mission is to provide a caring environment of high expectations that prepares every student for a successful future and instills the value of learning. And is there a public address to the Board of Education? Is there anybody here who would like to address the board? Seeing none, we will move on to new business, and is to adopt a resolution relating to the canvassing returns of special election.
You have the numbers there, so you should be able to understand that. Let us know if you have questions. Janelle, Tim helped us draft those. Denise should take no credit. Is it working?
Yes. So, it goes to the number of persons registered here. Number of ballots that were unused. Number of ballots were delivered to the precincts. How many ballots were cast in the ballot box? Should we read this out loud?
You're welcome to. I don't know that you need to read through all of that summary.
And this is going to be publicly available to anyone who asks.
So,
right?
it is, yep. Really, the resolution is the first attachment. Resolution canvassing returns of special election.
I'll read that.
That's, if you're reading.
All right, so I'll read the resolution, the first page of what we have attached here, which is the resolution we'll be voting on. So the official returns and summary statement, is that what your statement is here? No,
Yeah.
right thing.
Resolution canvassing return.
Sorry. All right, so the resolution canvassing returns of the special election certification of the minutes relating to the special election. So the resolution is the, what's the number storage?
They're on the other.
They're on the other attachment.
Well, so if you look on the second
On the
page
second
of that, the
page.
clerk presented affidavits showing.
So the clerk presented affidavit showing filing, publishing and posting of notice in accordance with the resolution adopted April 14, 2025 of the special election held August 12, 2025 to vote on the question of issuance of general obligation bonds of the school district in the aggregate amount of not to exceed $74,395,000. The clerk also presented to the office official returns and summary statements of judges. The affidavits and the official returns and summary statement of judges were duly examined, approved, and order placed on file in the office of the clerk. What's this number XXX?
That's
Then
for
go to the,
motion.
be it resolved.
Okay, be it resolved. Be it resolved, the School Board of Independent School District 2190, Yellow Medicine East, Minnesota, that the special election held in and for the school district on August 12, 2025, was in all respects duly and legally called and held, and returns thereof have been duly canvassed, and the votes cast at the special election for and against the question summoned to the electors were as follows. There were 1,319 yes votes and 548 no votes. There were 2 spoiled, defective, or blank ballots for total votes of 1,868. The ballots in question, having received the approval of the majority of the votes cast, is hereby declared to have carried. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute 205A.07 subdivision 3A, the clerk is hereby instructed to notify the Commissioner of Education of the results of the special election and to provide the certified vote totals for each ballot question in written form within 15 days after the results have been certified by the board. Upon vote being taken thereon, the following voted in favor of, and the following voted in favor against the same. So that is the resolution in question. Comments, questions to that resolution? If not, do we have a motion to accept this resolution?
I'll make that motion to accept the resolution.
We have a motion to accept. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion on the resolution? Hearing no comment on the resolution, we'll start with a roll call vote. We'll start with Director Winter.
Ron Winter, yes.
Amanda Lisi, yes.
Laurel Christensen, yes.
Sonia Peterson, yes.
Jeremy LeBlanc, yes.
Matt Semple, yes.
Abby Richter, yes.
Resolution is carried. Anything further, Rich?
Oh, just discussion about, the moving project.
So the next item is discussion on the building project. Now, you had a meeting with Preston.
Yeah, we had what's called the kickoff meeting, kind of explain what the next steps will be. First of all, Jim Wilson would love to have a meeting, a work session with you folks on August 28th. And there's a reason. First of all, that says earliest says we can get on his calendar, and unfortunately, that time, I know that's in the middle of the work day, but that's ideal for him.
Did you say August 28th, Rich?
Yes, August 20th, so next week,
What time?
10 to 12. So here's what the topics we're going to discuss. We will discuss where we stand with the plans as submitted. For example, one of the things I'm guessing you folks heard, I know I heard in my conversation, why is the building facing to the north? One of that, are we good with that scenario? Because remember, we just submitted a conceptual map and we have not done any exact surveying, any bores, any of that to make sure that that is truly what our best option, okay? You start taking a look at, and I hate to get too far into the weeds because this is what he would do. You look at, have you ever noticed how the street out in front of BRE doesn't line up with the street going into the KCC?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there's 2 reasons for that. Number one, there's a big old rock that would make it difficult to go straight. But really, the road actually should have been closer to BRE based upon the right-of-way. So there must be a reason for that. And we don't know that from 1952, why they did that, all right? So some of those are our decisions. Now, if we keep it facing north, again, I'm getting way too far in the weeds with this, busing and parking over there could be a challenge on the front side of the building, right? We're gonna have some parking, and obviously the buses are gonna have to be able to drop off out there. So he would just make sure that he wants to go through that process to make sure you folks are comfortable with that. Does that make sense? that would be a topic you would discuss on the 20th. What do you think? Can we make that work? Because I can, so then he's going to meet with the staff that day, and then they bring in this big computer program and scan the whole building. It works good to get started that early. What do you think? Would August 28th?
I will not be able to attend.
So it's not a short notice for that.
It's the first week of our semester, so
I'm sorry.
kind of,
Right for me.
I mean, are you folks okay with that? I mean,
What's our option?
I mean, we want to do this as soon as possible, so, you know, how many do you need present?
I don't have to have a set number, but
Okay,
kind of it's a really good time for you to talk to Jim
right, yeah.
individually with the principals, Jeff, and myself here.
I think the start of this conversation for this meeting was Rich and I were talking about it, and he was asking, should we bring this to building and grounds, or should we get a couple other board members together? And I was like, I would rather the whole board have this discussion, or at least as many of us as possible,
I agree.
so that everybody is kind of
Yeah.
has their input. So that's why we started looking for dates for Jim. I have a doctor appointment in the next, I should be able to be done then.
It's a work session. We won't have any formal action, but if we're going to end up with more than a quorum there, or with a quorum,
Will Jim be able to be in person?
yes, Jim will be here in person. He's going to meet with the staff for a period of time that afternoon also. And they'll have their whole crew here.
Is it possible to meet with the staff earlier and us later?
I can check to see if that could
I
happen.
suppose he wants us to talk to him probably before he talks to the
Probably.
staff.
I think that was his intention, so I've had 2 phone calls with Jim so far. He called me right away after you, was it before you and I met? I don't know.
I don't remember anymore.
So you said 10 to 12. Okay. I'll make it work.
I apologize, but I'll probably be apologizing quite a bit throughout this because it's the same thing I said to our principals. I apologize, but it's out of our control. Some of these
Right.
things are just gonna have to
Yeah.
go. But I think if you do have apprehensions, and maybe you didn't hear that, I didn't want to put words in people's mouth.
Mhm.
That's a good process that, I guess it's not just the Rich Schneider plan.
Mhm.
That's what I'm afraid of, all right? Because you folks have to defend the decisions too. All right? Okay, so we'll go for August 28th at 10 a.m.
Here?
As many here, right here in this room. As many as possible can be here, that'd be great. Then the next thing that Jeremy and I talked about, which came up in our kickoff meeting today too, what does the bid process look like, all right? So we do have certain statutes, and Jeremy can probably explain this a lot better than me, so cut me off when I get myself too far along.
Okay.
There's something called an AIA.
The AIA is that is the Association of Independent.
But there's certain parameters with that?
Well, the AIA is the contract between the contractors and us. What I'm curious about is making sure we're meeting the public bid requirements and how that's met and how they do that. I'm sure they do, they've done this 100 times,
Mhm.
but I'd like to understand how they go about their process of meeting that, and if that's different than what I would be customary doing with
So-
what I do, so.
Because that's my question, we have all these contractors listed here,
Mhm.
but how, I mean, are they just a maybe, or?
No,
Have
those
these
are the
people
ones,
been there,
okay,
or
so
how's that
here's
work?
how the process will work, all right? Jim and Preston go through
Mhm.
the process and identify which are the best bids based upon the bid documents.
Okay,
And that AIA agreement that he's talking
Mhm.
about, we will have an attorney look at to make
Okay.
sure that we are in compliance with all of that stuff, which we have to identify that attorney. But anyways, so here's what they're making a recommendation. This is Martin County West, it's a sample document.
Oh, this isn't ours.
So, no, this
No
is
wonder
not
I was all
ours, this is Martin
confused.
County West Public
Oh,
Schools.
maybe I
Most
should read
recent,
it.
I asked Preston for really, because I thought this would make sense to you folks if you saw it this way. So the beginning is basically what Preston is recommending to you folks, because this will have to be approved by the board, all right? But if you flip to the last few pages, you can see like bid 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.
Mhm.
All right, those are the bids that were received.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense when I know this isn't ours.
Yeah.
Not that bad.
No, I didn't think so, that's why I was a little confused how this was working. Okay. Just like a guideline of how things would be done.
Yeah, so you folks can see that they did their due diligence.
Yes, oh
Mhm.
yeah, okay.
We will have construction meetings that our site manager, our construction manager, which I say ours, because remember, R.A. Morton has no relationship with Wendell or any of the contractors. In fact, R.A. Morton doesn't even do construction, they just do construction management. Right, that's how that program can work outside the bid. And then the next step is the bid process. Right, so R.A. Morton puts these together. Jim draws it up, or his crew, which there's several of them, puts it together, and this is what we get for a document to make our decision. All right?
Mhm.
Questions about this? All right, so the next big thing is the financing piece, and I think I set that out in my weekly update that we will have a second meeting in September. The reason that is because we're talking, there are so many things that can change with this, all right? We have approval for 74.395 million, right? Do we want to sell all of those bonds at once? Or do we want to sell part of them? To know how much we could sell, we have to do what's called a draw schedule, meaning this is likely how much money we're gonna need at this point, based upon the construction. Preston and Jim are working on that draw schedule. Michael Hart and Steve Pumper will do the financial part. Again, no relationship between them. Steve actually does the investment side, Michael does the borrowing side. So they're actually two separate entities within there. When I say investment, if we draw, say, if we sell $30 million right away, that means we will get $30 million. It doesn't do any good to put it in a mason jar and keep it in our backyard. We're gonna turn around and reinvest that based upon that draw schedule, because we set that proceeds, or we borrowed, or we requested 74.395 million, knowing that we're gonna end up with more than 75 million through that process, all right? So there'll be bid premiums, people wanting the money, they'll pay extra for it, and then our investments should push us well over 75 million. So, should. Right? No guarantees, just like your investments in your retirement, no guarantees. But highly unusual.
If we sell these bids, we have to use the money within 3 years before we pay arbitrage, correct?
Correct. So arbitrage is the penalty you pay for borrowing money and not using it the way the taxpayers told us to use it. So,
And then you basically, the money you earned while holding that money, you have to pay back.
Correct. Now, one thing I learned is, so Dawson Boyd's going through this, kind of interesting in talking to them. When they finish their project, they have money left over, right? And so you can turn it back to the taxpayers. The bad part is that if you turn it back to the taxpayers, you do pay a penalty. And there's processing fees associated with that. So they're actually looking at, they have, I want to say like $225,000 left. They're gonna go ahead and do some projects that qualify. Parking lots is usually one that nobody wants to borrow money to pave a parking lot. But that's probably something they're gonna do. Plus they've got a big hole in the middle of their school, they need to do something, formerly known as the pool. So. Questions about that? So make sure that's on your calendar. We'll have two things we do the night of the 22nd. We'll approve a preliminary levy, which tells our county what to lock in. And then we'll talk to Michael.
So the 22nd at 6?
Yeah.
And then August 28th from 10 to 12?
Wait, the 22nd is September.
Correct.
Yeah.
September 22nd, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's August 28th, September 8th, September 22nd. Is there another one I missed on there?
All right. Unless there's questions for me, that's all I have.
The other question I had is the meeting on the 28th, is that going to be available like on Zoom, just in case I can?
I could set you up to do a Zoom.
Okay. It's just like a 30-minute drive back and
Yeah,
forth.
so it's not a formal meeting, so we don't have to worry about the virtual
Yeah.
rules associated with it. It's a work session,
Okay.
meaning no formal action. Yeah, any of you. So Laurel, if you
Yeah,
wanna,
possibly, even if I could,
Even if you zoomed in for
Zoom in
a half
and then-
hour
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
right,
you
ask
don't
your
have to have
questions
your
and.
camera on. and-
yeah, yeah, that would be great.
You know, I just don't want you folks not to be informed about this.
Right.
I mean,
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I think
this is probably, I know he's passionate about the costs. I'm really confident about the costs. I'm less confident about the design, all right? I want you folks to really think that through about the design, so.
So you could send a Zoom invite to all of us, and then if we can jump on that way. I mean,
Okay.
I feel like I'm a block and a half away. If I can make it work to come over, I will.
Okay.
But we'll see how that goes.
I already blocked it in the work calendar, so we can schedule a meeting for
I
something.
could do that.
All right,
I already have stuff on my calendar, so,
Right.
That day I got lucky, there's that.
yeah, nice.
all right, that's all I have.
All right,